The result at Dean Court yesterday, AFC Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 4. Liverpool 4. If you're new here on Cherries Extra, please hit the like, the subscribe, the bell button below. It does mean the world to us. And also do follow our parent channel, which is UTC IAD AFCB. So you can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, we're everywhere. So I wanted to give my version of events, of course, after this game against Liverpool. Disappointing scoreline, let's be honest. Disappointing scoreline. However, there is some positives to be taken from this match, and let's go through those first. So firstly, the lineup. I wasn't surprised to see the defence mixed up. James Hill coming in. I was very, very chuffed with that, actually. James Hill hadn't really been on my radar, didn't really expect him to play, but he was there. And in fact, we'll come on to James's performance in a moment. Chris Metham in the back line with Zabania, yeah, expected that. To be honest, the rest of the team lineup was as I thought it was going to be. Sinistera started. I did expect Billing to play, but instead of having Justin Kluivert on the left-hand side, we had Sinistera on the left, Kluivert in the middle. I think to some extent it did work. Kluivert was very, very effective. Now let's talk about the game, because Liverpool are a very, very good side, but you can't say that they're not depleted because, of course, the amount of injuries they have, and also the amount of players at the African Cup of Nations. They're Mo Salah-less at the moment, excuse the pun. But first half, I thought we started very, very well, quick out the blocks. Some fantastic runs, mainly by Marcus Tavernier and Justin Kluivert. They were excellent. Sinistera was good down that left-hand side. There was a point where, maybe he could have crossed it in, maybe let it run a little bit too far, but you can't really blame him. I thought, he did, excellent there. Liverpool were camped within their own box in the first 10, 15 minutes. And then it kind of went on a little bit of a downwards trajectory. Liverpool got back into the game. They really did fight back. They, did challenge, press forward. I thought Liverpool, looked very, very good. Lewis Cook, though, was taking the ball off them, as was Ryan Christie. Very good, dispossession of, certain players in the Liverpool side. Defensively, I think James Hill did a very good job on that left-hand side of defence. Metham, we've spoken about Metham before. I don't honestly think he's a Premier League player. He's a good lad, he's a professional. Should we let him go to Sheffield United? I think if, we have the backup, the players to come in, I think, letting him go to Sheffield United makes sense from a football club perspective. I think, get a fee for him and make sure that, we can, hopefully, fingers crossed, tie down Lloyd Kelly, who I didn't think played badly at all when he did come off the bench. And, maybe strengthening that department. I think that is one key area for me. Going forward, we have got Dom Solanke, we've got Kiefer Moore. Kiefer Moore offers something a little bit different, Dom. I think we need a third striker, really, but I think Semenyo could be that when he does come back from the African Cup of Nations with Ghana. I thought Zabania and Max Aarons was solid as normal. And I think Neto didn't really do much wrong, really. But, the first half, started very strongly, went into a little bit of a lull, but then finished quite strongly in that, that end of that first half. And I think, I was pleased with the performance. So going into half time, I had quite some optimism. How that optimism was dashed after half-time because, of course, it didn't take Darwin Núñez very long. He seems to be becoming a bit of a Achilles heel for AFC Bournemouth now. Of course, only a couple of minutes in, scored that fantastic goal. Was there errors from the defence? I think, probably was, to be fair. But Liverpool, after that point, looked in cruise control. And it took Diego Jota just after the hour mark, to make it 2-0. 3-0, game was up. I think it was up at 2-0 down, to be fair. And we didn't look in that second half of getting back into it. And then Darwin Núñez, of course, finished us off, in injury time. Overall, it was a game of two halves. First half, I could say was an excellent performance in places. Iriola had his finger on the button, managed to manage the game very, very well. The high intensity of press maybe was a little bit rusty. That's one thing I do want to say. I think we was a little bit rusty in that second half, which I think, to be honest, I don't like this staggered approach from the Premier League of a game here, game there, game everywhere. I want, solid fixtures throughout this month, because that makes, it makes sense. January always used to be a great month for football when I was growing up, and I'm sure people will agree with this. It was a great month for football because who can forget, the snowy games you used to watch on TV? It was Chelsea versus somebody. I think it was Middlesbrough. Chelsea versus Middlesbrough, of course, which, is a cup game that is coming up very, very shortly. But it was snowing, and all I can remember is Gianluca Vialli, but he's no longer with us, sadly. But him playing in knee high socks, freezing cold. He's got these gloves on, and from what I remember, he had a bloody fantastic game, even though everybody said, well, he's not going to be acclimatized to that. But that's a memory. But I used to love that. We used to love watching games, where it was snowing. I know it's not been a snowy January, but it tends to be the month where it will snow and cause everybody a headache, if it is going to. So yeah, that is my honest opinion. I think personally, disappointing second half, need to eradicate that. I think, Iriola will be working on these players and making sure that that doesn't repeat itself. James Hill has got a good future at this football club. I think he's got a very, very good future at this football club. Metham, I don't think so. I think Metham's time at AFC Bournemouth is probably on its last legs. Unfortunately, like I say, like the lad, but I just don't think he's up to the standards of the Premier League. I think in the Championship he'd be absolutely fine. For Sheffield United, well, to be honest, he's going to have his work cut out there if he does go there, because they're getting battered, with balls coming over all the fucking time. So I think he's going to have a game and a half, to keep clean sheets there. But sadly for him, I think his time at AFC Bournemouth is up. What else happens in this window? Like I said, go watch our cherry picking show, because our cherry picking show does go into a lot more. David Brooks has been linked with a move away. I don't really want that to happen, but I think, maybe if he's going to get game time, he's going to get his fitness up. That's a good thing. I think Joe Rothwell going to Saints, I think he offers something a little bit different in that midfield. So I'm a bit disappointed about that one. Does he fit into Saints' style? I don't know. I don't agree with, comments I've heard elsewhere that, Rothwell has not really been a great player for us. I think he does, some stuff really, really well. He isn't an all-rounded midfielder. He wouldn't be at AFC Bournemouth if he was, a midfielder that, people were dying to get their hands on. I think, in the day, I think he's got his limitations, and it's up to Iriola and, like it was beforehand, Gary O'Neill and Scott Parker to manage those limitations well. And I think Gary did that to a very, very good level. Gary O'Neill did. So let's. in a moment, I think everybody's going to get, oh, Gary O'Neill. Oh. That's the way some of our fan base do go on about it. But, you know, like I say, Lloyd Kelly is the big one for me. I don't want Lloyd to leave. Some people probably want to see the back of him. No, Lloyd's done a very, very good job at this football club. And when will people learn that, you know, sometimes players will have a bad game? Like he did against Burnley. Yes, he had a terrible game. But at the same time, he's due a bad game every now and again. And I thought he did all right against Liverpool when he come on. I think he's done all right all season long, to be fair. So that is my honest opinion. Let us know what you think. Everybody has got an opinion. None are stupid, none are daft, none are ridiculous. None deserve people to have abuse thrown at them like some people do think in our fan base. Everybody's opinion is valid. So leave yours. Just don't make it rude. And, you know, just make sure that it's constructive. Constructive. That's what I always like to say. Constructive criticism is welcome. Non-constructive criticism, bullying, harassment is not. Until the next one, up the cherries. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get back to winning ways against Swansea in the FA Cup, isn't it? Carabao Cup. Oh yeah, of course we play them. We play them all the bloody time in the fucking cups. There we go. Yeah, Swansea in the cup again. Oh. Why couldn't we get Maidstone or Newport County or somebody like that? Swansea becoming the new Burnley, aren't they? But at least we can beat Swansea in the cups. Till the next one, up the cherries.